Hey guys, it's Courtney from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and today I'm super excited to talk to you about Jupiter moving into Cancer. So, this is happening on June 9th, 2025. Jupiter stays in a sign for about a year. So, this past year, we've had Jupiter in Gemini, which is my sun sign. But I'm honestly really excited for Jupiter to move into Cancer because it's moving into a sign that it's stronger in. So it will be in Cancer until June 30th, 2026. And those of you who have planets in the cardinal signs, but especially in Cancer or even the water signs, you're going to experience some of the kind of shifts from Jupiter being in Cancer. So, what does it mean to have Jupiter in Cancer? So, I mentioned Jupiter is exalted in the sign. That simply means that this planet of growth and abundance and in many ways connection to others, it's a very social planet. It thrives in a sign that is very much associated with connection and emotion and coming together and support and nurturing. So Jupiter is going to operate at its highest level. So it's kind of like if you had a car and you weren't putting the right gas in, and then all of a sudden you put the right gas in. The car is still the car, but it is going to function in a healthier way when it's in the sign that it likes to be in. So, Cancer is a sign associated with legacy, with family, with traditions, with fertility, especially with Jupiter being in this sign. Jupiter is known as a bringer of children. And so, it's my prediction that we will have more pregnancies and births during Jupiter in Cancer, or at least some discussion around those things going on that could promote the growth of that industry, maybe changes to like IVF, things like that, where the idea of, what is family and are we going to have children and what is a feeling of unity or what does unity look like? And that also can take the form of unity as a country, unity of people against an issue or for a cause. So there's a lot of that kind of energy going on. And Cancer being, the crab, it has a protection mechanism built into it. If you think about the mother archetype, which is what Cancer is, they protect their young, they protect their family. And they also reflect. So, Cancer, if we kind of equate it to the fourth house in modern astrology, we would think about emotional reflection or how something makes you feel or how this connects to your past and to your family and your origins. And so I definitely think we're going to see a lot of themes in our personal and collective realities around protection and reflection. So, where do we protect ourselves or need to protect ourselves more? And where do we maybe need to reflect on certain issues in our own lives or in the collective or society, I should say, that we can make changes to? So, there can be changing, healing, growing in your concept of family, emotional wellness, connection to your country or homeland or issues within the country, friends, belonging. Those are all things that are going to have some developments. I think a lot of people will move, will buy a house, or will have some type of growth when it comes to their family or their physical home. So if you've had long-standing issues with family, Jupiter and Cancer can bring maybe more unity or the potential to work through some of those issues. If you've always wanted to own a home, that could happen when Jupiter is in Cancer. It's about, in a lot of ways, creating a greater sense of security. And Jupiter is a planet of progress. So, what do you need to change to elevate in your life, to progress in your life, to have more financial security, emotional security, physical security in terms of a place to live, and then connection and roots with your family, your loved ones, your community that provides some of the most important security of all? So we will be nurturing those connections. We will be growing deeper roots in the places that we live. We will be dealing more with topics around our, home country or patriotism, children, mothers, women, all those things where we have, again, like an origin story and a sense of connection to where we come from, our country, or the mother that we're born from, or the children that we birth and they originate from us. It's a really good time to typically look at real estate investing, or nesting and doing something to build up your home or renovate your home, improve your home in some way. So, it might not be that real estate is taking off, but there is something about this period of time where it's a good time to invest. So maybe properties are selling for lower, and then long term, it's a good investment. Maybe it's not the best time to sell. I don't know. I mean, given the current fiscal reality of the United States, it doesn't look like the best time for real estate, but Jupiter in Cancer does put a lot of emphasis on that. So I'm curious to see if something changes or develops in that industry or that field to reflect it being a good time to invest. We could also receive a lot more support. Cancer has a lot to deal with giving to people, like nurturing others, and giving versus receiving. So there could be some themes that come up around that. If you've had issues with boundaries or enmeshment, Jupiter in Cancer in particular can really help you address that in any type of relationship in your life. If you've relied too much on someone or something in an unhealthy way, Jupiter in Cancer can help you reflect on that and see if that's really in your best interest. We might have, again, a need to kind of defend or protect ourselves and our country in some way, especially with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. And there can also be, as I already mentioned, a reflection in our nation on how the laws or the government or certain practices or expectations are protecting us or not, and if we need to make changes to create more security. And we're going to go over historically how that has played out in the past 2 times Jupiter has been in Cancer. The last thing I'll mention is there can be an emphasis more on history. Where do you come from? What is your DNA? What is your genetic makeup? What's your land of origin? And this could be the past that connects you to a physical place, or even like a spiritual place or an emotional place. So we might, we're already kind of seeing those tensions in the US of, what is foreign versus what is native, or whatever you would say, a citizen. And so we can already kind of see a little bit of that with Jupiter and Cancer of like, well, where do you come from? I mean, the funny thing is that, most people in the US, I mean, everyone in the US, like, except Native Americans, come from other places. But anyway. Okay, so let's look at what is going to, like, what's happened historically, because we can see some of those things kind of repeat and come up now. And some really interesting ones are literally like reoccurring in a new way. So June 2013 to June 2014 was when Jupiter was last in the sign of Cancer. And right before Jupiter moved into Cancer, when it was at 29 degrees of Gemini, which is the sign of information and communication, Edward Snowden, who was a former U.S. national security agent, leaked a bunch of secret classified documents to the public. And through that, we were able to see, which is, again, transmission of knowledge and information, Gemini. And then when Jupiter moved into Cancer, we were able to really process what just happened, which is looking at how much does the government take data on us? What is our privacy? What is the surveillance? How does this affect the everyday citizen? And so that topic came up then. I definitely think it's going to come back up now. Security, online, like data and privacy, and the information that's collected on people. I think that's very much going to resurface at this time. If it doesn't, there can be some similar themes. So looking at, again, where do we maybe need to have more security and more protection, which is a Cancer theme. What also happened during this 2013-2014 timeframe was the mysterious disappearance of the plane MH370. And I'm curious if you guys know about that incident, comment down below, because that's something that I've been following pretty closely and very interested in. And it happened on March 8th. Almost 240 people just disappeared. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories. And what's interesting is that now they're talking about finally starting to search for that plane again, now that Jupiter is moving into Cancer. So it disappeared when Jupiter was in Cancer. They looked, they couldn't find them. And now, 12 years later, they're looking again during this new Jupiter and Cancer cycle. So you can see literal repetition of events occurring in a new light now, potentially for resolution. Another thing that happened in 2013, 2014 was legalization of marijuana in Colorado, which I believe this was the first U.S. state to allow this. And I'm in Colorado for now. And so it was legalized recreationally during that time. The bill was passed in 2012, but when Jupiter moved into Cancer, it actually went into effect. So this to me is like looking at the role of what is healing, caretaking, nurturing, supportive, and looking at that through a new light. So no longer this war on drugs and like this is out to get us, seeing things that we maybe previously saw as a threat and now seeing them through new eyes. So Jupiter and Cancer, again, a lot of themes around protection come up, but it can be the reversal of previous protection against that thing, or, fear or stigmatization against that thing, or the opposite, where we realize, actually, we don't have enough security measures here. One concern for me is the development of AI and not having proper laws and things in place to protect us from, stealing our likeness or other, information or other issues that can happen with AI even now. And it's only going to get worse. So anywho, so the previous time before that Jupiter was in Cancer was July 2001 to July 2002. And what was happening was we were kind of on the back of, 9/11 at this time. So 9/11 happened. That wasn't because of Jupiter in Cancer. That was because Saturn was in Gemini, opposing Pluto in Sagittarius. Saturn opposite Pluto, or Saturn conjunct Pluto, or Saturn square Pluto, brings up all of the really messed up stuff that kills people, like Saturn conjunct Pluto last time when we had the start of COVID. So Saturn opposite Pluto in 2001 was 9/11. So that is very much like that aspect in particular, the us versus them mentality, Gemini versus Sagittarius. Also like the belief or ideology versus facts. That's again, Sagittarius versus Gemini. And so there's a lot going on here that brought up tension of like who is inside, who is outside, and what is the protective mechanism, Jupiter and Cancer, the protective membrane that will prevent infiltration of what shouldn't be coming inside. So in the physical body, Cancer actually rules over mucous membranes, and that's super important for the structure and the formation and the integrity of a structure to hold and to not be broken down. So it's very protective. And so after 9/11, when Jupiter was in Cancer, we were all really worried and concerned about, reformation of our security system internally as a country to protect from outside invasion. Whether that's based off of fact or fiction and all conspiracy or not conspiracy, I'll let you guys comment your thoughts down below. So that's an example, again, of Jupiter and Cancer at play. So I think we could probably take some of that theme or information and carry it over to what's happening now. And we could see some changes to our border system. I think we're already, again, seeing some of these things kind of rev up. And now I'd be curious to see how they further develop as Jupiter moves through Cancer this next year. More positive things. In 2002, January 2002, when Jupiter again was in Cancer 2 cycles ago, we had the development of the euro. So the euro was already kind of in the works behind the scenes as more of an invisible currency for banking or accounting. But it wasn't until 2002, when Jupiter moved into Cancer, that the euro started physically circulating. And so I feel like this speaks, a lot to Cancer, because Cancer is security, and that is very much related to financial security. And so and also unity, as we talked about. So there is this unification of multiple countries under one specific type of financial system. And it creates more security as they kind of come together. So I really love that. I thought that was a really great example. And I was kind of shocked to realize that the euro wasn't invented till 2002. I really thought it was something that has always been, not always been there, but been there for a really long time. The last thing that I'll mention historically is that also during this time frame, we had the Human Genome Project. So this is something where we're kind of collecting DNA. Basically, we're mapping out DNA and trying to figure out like how do human genes work? What does it relate to in terms of other animals? Drawing like a analysis of the human genome. And while for many years, but especially while Jupiter was in Gemini, we had the collection of the data happening, which is, again, very Gemini in nature. And then when Jupiter moved into Cancer, it was the synthesis or the meaning making of that information. And this is, again, very Cancer, because Cancer rules over our history. And it basically helped us start to see how genes influence our health and how and disease and our identity and the way that we physically operate as a result of our lineage, our ancestry, and our family and our inherited genetics. So again, very much a Jupiter in Cancer experience, understanding where you come from to have a brighter future, which is Jupiter progress, to make more progress. Because from this place, we can then make more individualized medicine as a result of our genetic profile and our unique differences. So again, when Jupiter moves into Cancer, if we can look into our past and understand our origin story from that place, we have greater strength to move forward because we have more self-wisdom and self-understanding. So makes a lot of sense why this configuration is so powerful. I really love how it kind of connects two different timelines here. So let's talk about the transits of Jupiter and Cancer and how this is going to affect us. So when I say transits, I mean what aspects will Jupiter make to outer planets or, significant like slower planets like Saturn as it moves through the sign of Cancer. So we have been going off and on through a Jupiter square Saturn as it's been in the sign of Gemini for the last year. It's kind of been a bitch, excuse my French. It's been annoying for me personally because it's almost like every time we try to take a step forward, we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or we make progress, but it's within the confines of an existing limitation. There are certain frustrations around progressing. It's like we are and we aren't progressing at the same time. And so that is a Jupiter-Saturn square. We are going to have another one of those as Jupiter moves into Cancer, and now Saturn is already in Aries. So we're going to see a little bit of that in like mid to late June, Jupiter squaring Saturn, except this time Jupiter is also squaring Neptune because Saturn and Neptune are together in Aries. So it is going to be a different experience because of that Neptune influence. I think that many of us might have a little bit of that feeling that we had before in certain ways where we are progressing, but also there are certain frustrations or limitations that come up. That is possible that could still carry through. But with Saturn now in Aries and the Neptune in Aries, the sign of the warrior, I do think that there's going to be a little bit more of this energy of like having something to fight for. Our desires, our rights, our independence, our individuality, something that maybe other people don't understand. And Jupiter in Cancer is a planet around defense and protection. So we might have to defend or protect what we want to happen in our lives or against some kind of threat, which is Saturn and Aries. And so there could be things that, spur us to make necessary changes in order to, again, kind of protect our assets, protect our family, protect our place of living. And so I think that could come up if we feel that there is some type of threat happening. On a personal level, when I was writing up my notes about this, and, I'm really sorry that this is graphic, but I got this imagery of a hymen breaking. And so there was something about this symbolism of breaking, like pushing past a barrier. And then once that threshold is crossed, you're kind of in a new terrain, a new territory. And so there is something here with both of these planets, Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, being in cardinal signs, which are signs that take action, signs that initiate, that are at the turn of a new season. So there's something about that feels like we have to be proactive in moving towards something that we want or that we believe in or that we need. And so some themes that might come up is letting go of one thing to gain another thing. I already mentioned crossing some kind of threshold and coming into a deeper understanding of the self as a result of that push into a new beginning for ourselves. So there could be some initiation, almost some kind of challenge, where you're like, now after this, once I finally get past this or move through this or up level in this way or challenge myself to do this thing, once I get to the other side, I am actually going to be a different person. And so in many ways, we're breaking potentially self-imposed or societally imposed boundaries of culture, emotion, just personal boundaries, where we are being asked to kind of redefine who we are, where we're coming from, what our home is, what we want our life to look like. Those are all things that, Jupiter and Cancer could help us do. And we're going to move from rupture, which is Saturn, Neptune, Aries, to expansion, which is Jupiter and Cancer. So it's almost like we have to experience something breaking down in order to get the benefits of growing beyond the current limitations. So that is kind of like the imagery of that. I hope that's making sense, but that came through really strongly. The other transit that we're going through is happening in October and November or December of 2025, where Jupiter will square Chiron. I do kind of feel like people's wounds can be coming up around this time, and they are going to be asked to be healed and worked through. So if you've been, this could be on a societal level, like where we're addressing things of the past, like, oh, this thing happened in the election, or this thing happened, politically or societally, and now we're having to do something about it. We're going to have to make a new law, or we're going to have to address it publicly, or do something to put a bandage on the wound. And so that's also on a personal level. If there's something that's happened that we need to process or change something in our lives to heal or grow from as a result of a difficult experience, that could happen in October and December. And then lastly, I really love this because we kind of start off the Jupiter and Cancer cycle with it squaring Saturn, which does rebuff some of the positive and constructive energy of Jupiter, only in the sense that it creates a little bit more friction to get to what we want. But by November 2025, we will have Jupiter in a trine to Saturn. At this point, Saturn will have retrograded back into Pisces. So it's not really the same, which is why it's a trine, because Jupiter is in a water sign, so is Saturn, so they trine. So to me, this is indicating that the initial friction and frustrations presented in June are going to reach some kind of culmination, realization, materialization, or some kind of success where things can really like hit the ground running when Jupiter trines Saturn in November 2025. So there's a connection, in my opinion, between June and November of 2025 where we see friction and then resolution in some type of way. And I think that this could build a lot of support, a lot of the foundations and security and protection that Jupiter and Cancer really wants. So I could see this as emotional stability, financial stability, or really any of the things that we talked about today, materializing into your reality. So one quick thing that I'll also mention is Jupiter is going to retrograde in Cancer. So from June 9th, it's going to be moving obviously at 0 Cancer, and then it will go all the way to 25 degrees, which is pretty close to the end. And then it is going to, on November 11th, it's going to reach that 25 degree point, and then it's going to retrograde to 15 degrees of Cancer until March 10th of 2026. Then that day it will turn direct and continue on to the end from 15 to 30 degrees, 29 degrees, until June 30th, 2026. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you have any planets between 15 and 25 degrees of Cancer, Jupiter is going to pass over that point 3 different times. So it's going to pass over initially and then retrograde and then pass over it again. And it's going to give you the opportunity to really reevaluate your relationship with that area of your life. So let's say you have your moon in Cancer at 17 degrees. When Jupiter retrogrades over that point, you may reevaluate your connection with your family, your home and place of living, or what you define as emotional security, or what you're doing to establish emotional security. So that's kind of like a pure archetypal example of how this can manifest, but it can look very different from person to person. But just know that this is a period of reflection before it moves direct again. So let's go ahead and dive into what this is going to look like for all of the rising and sun signs. You can also watch for your moon sign if you want, especially because this is Cancer, which is the sign that's ruled over by the moon. But yeah, you can check out that in my description box down below. I'll have all the timestamps. If you want a reading from me, I will also have my website link in my description box down below. If you enjoyed this overview or want to support my channel in any way, please do comment down below or give me a subscribe and a like. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the forecasts. All right, up first we have Aries, rising, and sun. So Jupiter moving into Cancer is going to take place in your 4th house for this next year from June to June. And you guys are kind of like going through a lot. You have Saturn that just moved into your sign. Neptune at the end of March moved into your sign. So you are going through a longer cycle of transformation and up-leveling. And I have videos on those that I will, if I remember, I'll link below, or you can just search my channel. Highly recommend checking that out. But Jupiter in Cancer is operating within that context of Saturn and Neptune being in your sign. So again, you might be experiencing certain challenges in life, or ways that you have more responsibility, or you might be thinking more deeply about your life and where you're going and who you are. You might be in a state of transition and change over these next few years. And Jupiter in Cancer is going to help you ground down more into your center. With the 4 of Swords, this is a card of rest and reflection. And the 4th house is the house that is most concerned with rest and reflection. It is a place of reprieve. And so you guys might notice that you want like more time alone, or you might benefit from focusing on your family life, your home life, your emotional life. This could be therapy. This could be journaling. This could be just not maybe being super social. It kind of depends on what else is going on in your personal chart. But in general, there is a need to kind of slow down a little bit, or carve out space to slow down, because Saturn can make it hard to slow down sometimes. So I think that when you do that, you're going to come into a place where you have the potential for some kind of new emotional beginning. So doing this kind of reflection on what's meaningful to me, or processing elements of your past, or even just trying to come into a centered place with the fluctuations happening in your life, it can create a new emotional beginning for you that's really necessary. Some of you guys could find that family or home relationships improve, or your relationship with yourself and your physical body can improve as well. We also have the Temperance card, which is a card of healing and harmonious relationships. So it's really about trying to find balance, because again, I really see Saturn asking a lot of you, maybe draining you or pulling at you from a place of worry or responsibility or duty. And this Temperance card is like, but you can also fill up your own cup. You can also rest. You can also relax and come into a place of inner peace. So I'm really getting the sense of trying to find a balance between these two energies kind of pulling at you. And the last tarot card that we have is the 4 of Pentacles, which is a card of security. So I do see this in a positive light. I think that you guys are going to be saving a lot more. You might also be looking at and becoming more aware of your kind of protective mechanisms. You might be more aware of how you've been defensive in the past, you had your guard up, had your walls up, and Jupiter moving through your sign can help you kind of lean into the potential for connection and vulnerability and intimacy in ways that may feel scary for you. So it's like opening up your emotional horizons in a new way within relationships because you're meeting yourself on a deeper level as well. With the Truth card in reverse, there might be some things that you have to kind of own or reflect upon in a more truthful way. So this could be looking at things before that you maybe haven't really seen or recognized about yourself, about your past, about your family, about your habits and like your kind of reactions to things. It's looking underneath the surface. The fourth house is the most hidden house of the zodiac. And so it has this energy of where the sun kind of goes to die. It's on the midheaven, and the 10th house, it's at its most visible, and that's your career. And then it goes to kind of rest or die in the fourth house. So there's something about this where it's like unearthing things that have been put to rest or that you've been unconsciously impacted by. So I can see you like needing to reflect more on what is my truth? What do I want? Who am I? What's this dynamic? Do I need to work on this? And I pulled the seed as an archetype for you. So it's almost like you kind of can go back to the foundation of something, which is a very fourth house topic. See what the genetic makeup of the seed of your life that has germinated and created these results. It's going back to the very origin story that shares why you have certain outcomes or patterns or situations in your life. I also pulled the Queen card. The Queen is definitely more like Leo because, that's Leo rules over royalty. But there might be something here, of being more in command of yourself or your life in some way. And so I feel like there's something about going back to the seed or the origin and looking at it from a new light in order to have more power. Some of you guys, the Queen could be representing being in a place of power to then germinate another seed of your life. So planting something new, like I'm going to move homes, or I'm going to have a kid, or I'm going to expand my life in some way or my family in some way. And so this could also indicate like the seed of a new idea and having the power. The Queen is also like a mother or a woman archetype. It's a woman. So there could be something around that of like the power of, fertile ground. So there's something around that, Jupiter moving through your fourth, it is very common to move or to have some kind of like birth in the family and things of that nature, selling your house, improvements in family. And so there's something with the seed that's indicates planting the seed for a new beginning. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aries. I hope that that's helpful. If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Taurus, rising, and sun. So for you guys, Jupiter is moving into the sign of Cancer, which is in your third house for the next year. And the third house is typically a house that can be quite busy. So my Taurus risings, you guys might be going through a lot more on your to-do list. You might be meeting more people, socializing more. You might be learning something. You might be having your hands in multiple pots. You might be traveling or having to run around a lot more in your day-to-day life. Things can feel like they pick up speed in certain ways. You do have Saturn and Neptune, recently shifting into your 12th, which has a very reflective energy. So kind of combined with these, there might be pockets of being a little bit more alone, and then other pockets of, with Jupiter in the third, being quite busy and around a lot of people, or having to interact with a lot of people or do a lot of like logistics managing and stuff. So there's an interesting combination here. And the 12th and third house axis where, Jupiter's in the third, Saturn, Neptune are in 12th, it can really relate to a lot of like existential questioning, needing to change your mindset or perspective on things. The third house is a house of of our thoughts and our communication and our ability to give and receive information and understand things. And so when we have, Saturn moving into the 12th, we can naturally go into a place of maybe a little bit more reflection on our lives, a little bit more solitude, kind of shifting our energy in some way. And then Jupiter moving into the 3rd can help expand the scope of your mindset to think more optimistically, to think more about, solutions or different ways of viewing or doing things that can support you. And, soon we're going to have Uranus move out of your sign, which is going to be, really interesting for you. But we'll touch on that later. So the first card that I pulled was a Hangman. So I think that this speaks to Jupiter moving into a house related to our mindset and perspective, because the Hangman is a card about shifting perspective, about seeing things in the world upside down, questioning things that you've always maybe taken for granted. And that's why the 3rd house is often related to learning and to teaching, because you can transmit new information that changes somebody's outlook on life, which is also why 3rd is connected to 9th house, because 9th house is like life outlook overall. So I really see you guys coming into a phase of maybe pausing a little bit at certain times. Again, certain pauses in isolation and certain periods of really being quite busy and social because of the contrast with Saturn in 12th and Jupiter in 3rd. So Hangman represents a lot of like lack of movement. It can represent spending more time alone, as does the 9 of Pentacles, which is a card of independence. So this is represented in the cards here of having the time by yourself to consider new perspectives on things. The 9 of Pentacles is also a card of independence and abundance. So this could be a particular topic that you're thinking about. I mean, at this current moment, when Jupiter moves into Cancer, Venus is going to be in your sign in Taurus, which is a money-centered sign and planet. So you might have a little bit more focus on security and your finances and how to create more of that financial independence for yourself. And Cancer as a sign is very concerned with that. It's concerned with, protecting oneself and making sure that you have enough to provide for your needs and your future. And yeah, I also pulled this medallion, and the medallion, I mean, it literally looks like a gold coin. So there's something here around money that feels really significant, or even a particular goal that you like really want. The medallion to me is some type of reward at the end of that goal, or a successful achievement of something. So you guys might be having like your eyes on the prize kind of thing of, I have this idea and I really want to work towards that thing. And so I could see you with this Jupiter being in your 3rd house, being quite solution oriented, or willing to go out and network, or willing to maybe experiment or try new things in order to reach some type of success or change the internal perspective that could block you from that. And I see that with the 7 of Swords. This is a card of deception, and I really feel like it's more, usually I see it as more like self-deception. So I think that you can become a lot more aware of the ways that you might deceive yourself around either certain possibilities, or maybe not recognizing where you have certain traits or things that you're doing that are actually undermining your sense of security and stability. So this card can represent being able to spot the moles, almost like if you, there's like these prairie dogs here in Colorado that come up out of their holes and like squeak, 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 and then they run back down. And there's always one like looking if the other one's out, and they're all like keeping an eye on each other. And I just got that imagery of you guys being able to spot those things in your life that kind of come up and show themselves, that have always maybe been there, but they show themselves and you're like, oh, that is something I can't trust, or that is some mindset that's not accurate, or maybe even a person or situation that you're like, that's not really good. It's like giving you this really strong intuition around people, or what people are saying, or around what the right opportunities to act on are. I just can see you really enhancing your protective guard and mechanisms through your intuition, using that filter of like, what should or shouldn't I invest my time and energy into? And when you listen to that, you get the 8 of Wands, which is moving forward very quickly, things being successful or things making a lot of progress, having a lot of momentum and a lot going on, like a lot of different priorities. That is very Jupiter in the third house experience. Again, I still think you'll have hanged man moments where you're at a pause or you're alone or whatever. There will be moments of that with Saturn in the 12th, but this 8 of Wands to me indicates that things will also have a lot of pockets of being quite quick, and having, again, a lot of competing priorities. So the last cards that I have for you guys is the Salvation, the Moon, and the Flow card. So really, again, I feel like this kind of speaks to what I was saying, but I feel like there's going to be some type of like saving grace of a very strong intuition around a certain situation or person, or about your own life. I see maybe some idea come to you, some news comes to you, some opportunity can come to you, likely in the form of something intellectual, because this is the third house that we're talking about. So something in the mind kind of has a breakthrough, and it saves you in a way. And it shows you with the Moon card, it shows you where you maybe have been not seeing something, like something was underneath the surface, like that prairie dog analogy in your life, and you become aware of it as Jupiter moves into Cancer. Again, this could be maybe your own habit, because, Saturn in the 12th, Neptune in the 12th can illuminate self-destructive behaviors or self-undoing patterns, especially unconscious patterns that are playing out. So this Moon card represents having the intuition to illuminate what is happening underneath the surface that's driving you or that's blocking you or whatever. And after that, you're able to establish a sense of flow with life. So not feeling like maybe you have to work super hard, like things are moving in a very natural way. And I think you might come into more of an acceptance of the cycles of life and the understanding of timing and divine timing, and respecting kind of what's going on astrologically, and not trying to force things that aren't really meant to happen at that time. I just see you guys getting into more of a good pace, a good momentum, because it's really interesting that we end the two cards in the sequence that we end on are the 8 of Wands and the Flow card, and they're both speaking a lot around like quickness and speed and pacing and being uninhibited. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be the same speed, because again, there could be moments of pause, but I feel like when you are flowing, it's really going to flow, and you will know how to lean in and when to lean out at different times. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. If you want a reading from me, check that out in my description box down below, and I hope you take care. Bye. All right, myself, Gemini rising and sun. For you guys, Jupiter in Cancer from June 2025 to June 2026 is taking place in your second house of finances, self-worth, and material possessions. So some things that we see when Jupiter moves into this house is a potential to buy a house, sell a house, make more money, buy important possessions, invest, change jobs, try to make money in new ways. You could also have some things come up that help build your self-reliance and self-worth. And the second house is also a house that we have kind of like our knowledge of what makes us valuable in a partnership. So what are we bringing to the table? What are our traits and assets, or our, financial income or skills that help us make money? What are those things that make us an attractive potential mate to somebody? So with Jupiter moving in the second house, that can enhance, like, your portfolio as an individual can enhance. So it's like, what is it that you could work on or do to make yourself societally or relationally more valuable? But also, of course, having the internal self-worth is a big part of that. So let's talk about the cards. I have the Hermit card starting off the reading. So Jupiter in Cancer can have some of you guys reflecting internally on what you really want out of life. The second house can also very much have to deal with our values and priorities. And so some of you guys might have that shift. Maybe you try to make money in a new way because you value your freedom, or you want to move towards a different, more inspiring type of career. Maybe you decide to shift something else in regards to your time and your life that reflects what is important for your future self rather than your past self. So the Hermit is a lot about kind of um, realigning your sense of direction and your goals with what is truly meaningful and significant to you on a heart-centered level. And I see that with the Sun card, it's going to impact your career or your sense of direction in life. Some of you guys may want to have kids. This is a card around children, so it's also possible that you might start to value, prioritize financial security that will eventually support having a family, or something else of that nature where you're wanting to save up for a long-term goal, or you have some kind of like mission or vision in life, or you're working towards something significant career-wise that feels like it's exciting you in some type of way, that's inspiring you. And I really see that it's going to be successful with the Wheel of Fortune and Queen of Cups. This to me indicates success around something that you're setting out to do over the course of this Jupiter and Cancer cycle. And it's success that comes in the material plane, but also the emotional plane, because Jupiter's in Cancer, a water sign. So whatever it is that you're interested in, with the Queen of Cups, it's something that you're very intuitively guided towards, or it's something that once you really get into it, you're going to feel stoked about it. You're going to feel really invested into it and glad that you found that thing or did that thing. So yeah, I feel like you guys are going to be really building yourself up emotionally by doing more of what you love. And then the Wheel of Fortune is success at what you're doing. So there's some kind of goal that you desire or some kind of way that you want to shift your life, especially in the material reality, that I definitely think is going to be enhanced with Jupiter and Cancer. I will say Saturn moving into your 11th house, and Neptune here, there can be some shifts in your relationship dynamics, in your community, your place of living, the people that you see day to day. The friends that you have online or whatever, especially with the Alliance card, you guys could naturally have some relationship dynamics shifting in your life. And the Alliance card says that when Jupiter moves to Cancer, you might make new types of friendships that support you or act as an alliance for a different version of yourself, a more like this next level of yourself. There's something new that you're going to be able to explore within your personal life and within your own world, and you almost are going to be able to attract the right people who resonate with that new path, that new journey that will help you develop that journey. And relationships that will act as a mirror to you as well. So you might notice certain problems or issues and things in other people that this mirroring will help you see is also within yourself. So I can see you attracting a lot of like-minded people who mirror the positive parts of your personality or your goals or your intentions to you, but also people who mirror maybe some of the challenges that you have as well. I also pulled the Mother card. So again, some of you might be wanting to be a mother or be working on your relationship with your mother, or you might be trying to build up a nest egg or something security focused, especially financially. The last thing I see is the Tower and the Emperor. So some of you guys in general just may be going through a period of really shifting some foundational aspect of your life. The second house is, again, a house of security. And so if you've been playing it really safe and you've never taken any financial risks, you've never changed your jobs, or you've never moved, or you haven't done certain things because it would cost too much money, all that caution, I think, could be ripped away with this Tower, either, intentionally on your own terms or the universe doing it to you. So you could have a change in jobs, a change in homes, a change in the way that you make money, or something that has been really long standing in your everyday values and priorities. Maybe things can come into your life that force those to shift around. So with the Emperor after, I can see you having rebuilding something, having a new foundation in a new place, essentially. Jupiter wants you to not just kind of play it super, super safe. It wants you to think practically, of course, to some extent, but it wants you to think about what's possible and make that happen. And the Tower card can represent that if you don't reach for those things on your own, again, that the universe can come take something away. So if you've been really stuck at the same job for 20 years and you've always wanted to do something else, you might lose your job. And it gives you a chance to go out and search for a new way to make money and grow as a soul in that way. So that's what I'm saying for you, Gemini. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com or in my description box down below. The other signs are there as well. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer, rising, and sun. Jupiter is moving into your sign in a few days for this next year, which means it's going to be in your first house. So what does that bring for you, my Cancers? So typically is going to be some kind of rebirth, really. When a planet moves from the 12th to the first house, it goes from a kind of spiritual liminal phase of like the astral plane, the unconscious plane, where our souls are. And then when it's comes over the ascendant, it's like we're being birthed into the physical body. Something is coming into material reality. So you've just had a 12-year cycle culminate, and now you are starting a fresh one, and you are going to have to reap the benefits and blessings of the wisdom that you gained from those previous experiences over those last 12 years. So it is an exciting time when we have a benefic planet like Jupiter coming into your first house, especially if you're somebody born during the day, because Jupiter is a more beneficial planet to people who are born during the day, and Venus benefits people more born at night. So Jupiter in the first can indicate growth in really any area of your life, because this is the house of the self. For some of you guys, there can be some improvement to long-standing health issues. If you are prone to weight gain, I will say Jupiter does not help with that. In fact, it can do the opposite of that. So just be aware of that. If you have been wanting to develop something within your career, you do have Saturn, Neptune in your 10th house. So you could be going through a phase of kind of analyzing or questioning a little bit more around your life goals and your sense of direction. And Jupiter can give you like clarity and ideas. I see that especially with the 7 of Cups in reverse. If you've been like thinking of a lot of different things, but not having clarity on how to move forward with one thing, or not knowing the steps to take on something that you do want, the 7 of Cups in reverse can indicate having the ideas come to you, or the instinct of where to go, because Jupiter is in a water sign, and it is a lot about trusting your own gut. So even though you don't have the whole plan mapped out, you can still have this inkling of, I'm going to go in this direction, or I'm interested in this thing, like let me pursue this thing. And Jupiter in the first can also bring new relationships. It's a social planet, a connective planet. People can do stuff for you. People can support you and want to help you in some ways. So with the 3 of Pentacles, we can see that you might draw in the necessary partnerships, work relationships, connections, a nice like energy around collaboration and unity, working together. So you might just draw in the right kind of people and circumstances to get a goal or an idea off the ground, or to just feel good in general. With the Page of Wands, I definitely feel like you guys are feeling more alive. So with Jupiter in the 12th, you might have felt like in more of a dreamy spiritual kind of place. And now Page of Wands is trying to externalize that energy. Jupiter in the first is about going out into the world, meeting people, making stuff happen, going after your dreams, being inspired to act on the intuitions and the things that came to you in the year before. You could have had all these kind of things happening maybe inside internally or in the backdrop of your life. And now Page of Wands is like, let's go out and physically manifest them. Let's go out and take that chance into the real world to see if we can have this happen. And with the 9 of Cups, I think you are going to have some kind of wish fulfillment, or you are being encouraged to follow your heart towards some sort of wish that you really have always had on your heart. So yeah, Jupiter is about personal growth. And so if you've had anything kind of holding you back or making you doubt yourself, or if you've been just thinking about stuff and not acting on stuff, Jupiter moving into your first house is going to ask you to take action. It's going to provide you the right resources, people, opportunities to start moving things forward, and to help you think outside of the box or think bigger about your own capabilities, and to think better about yourself as well. I also pulled the Pilgrim card, and this makes a lot of sense because Jupiter is also a planet of travel and learning. So some of you guys might initiate a new cycle of learning, maybe going to school for something or taking a course on something. And it could also indicate, of course, traveling abroad, moving abroad, or just being more on the go in some type of way. I also pulled divine wisdom and focus. So divine wisdom, I definitely feel like you guys are going to have access to your own wisdom or divine wisdom much easier. Stronger intuition, strong insights, knowing where to go, what to do, synchronicities, feeling like the universe is communicating with you about your path. That is what this is going to feel like. You also, like I mentioned, just went through this whole 12-year cycle that you're wrapping up, or that you already wrapped up, and now you're getting the blessings. So you're being able to activate that divine wisdom that you learned previously and apply it into your life now. I also see the focus card. So the focus could indicate that some of you guys, especially with Saturn in the 10th, could take an aim onto a long-term goal right now. This doesn't have to always manifest right now, although some of you it will, but this could be the development or the energy and intention put in that direction, maybe for the first time or maybe in a more intense and meaningful way. Focus could also indicate a change of focus. So if you've been putting your energy in one area of your life, maybe now it's finally freeing up to focus on things that really matter to you, and you're prioritizing some long-term goals and wishes that previously maybe you have put on the back burner. Jupiter really helps connect you to your soul's growth. And if your soul came here to have a particular experience and you've been putting it off and putting it off, putting it off, Jupiter will create a little bit of this pressure, not in the same way as Saturn, but in the way of like, this is important to you. Don't forget, you really have to take action now. Life is moving, life is continuing to progress, and you need to initiate. And so I like that combination of Saturn in the 10th and Jupiter in the 1st, because it can create a little bit of awareness of time and kind of the fact that we are dealing with a finite resource with our life, and we need to work on materializing something that we've always wanted as a soul to happen in this lifetime. And so the focus piece can become really important for you. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. If that resonates, let me know in the comments down below. Very auspicious time. You can have a lot of career growth, a lot of development as a person. You can achieve some long-term goals that you've set for yourself, or at least start to focus on them and apply the wisdom that you've learned in this last cycle. So if you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you want a reading from me, check me out, cosmicclearastrology.com in my description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo rising and sun. For you guys, Jupiter in Cancer is going to be happening. Well, it's going to be in your 12th house for this next 12 months. So what is this going to bring for you guys? Well, the 12th house is a house of spirituality. It's a house of rest, of often isolation or separation, where you can kind of come back to yourself. And I think that's really interesting because I did pull the womb card as an archetype for you. And so there's something about this Jupiter in Cancer period that it is kind of like returning to the womb, especially because Cancer actually is a sign that rules over the womb. And the 12th house in astrology represents this kind of pre-birth experience where you are literally in the womb. So when Jupiter moves into this house, there's something symbolic around that, where you're kind of returning to this phase of life that is kind of before you're about to be reborn, essentially, when Jupiter moves into your sign in Leo the next year. So when you're in the womb, I mean, you don't really have all these worldly attachments. You're not as like connected to the material realm. And so there's something about this Jupiter in Cancer that I think is going to help you kind of disconnect materially and connect more spiritually to your soul, to your purpose, do like more soul searching during this next year. And I think it's going to be healing in many ways. If you think about the womb, you're like in this protective bubble, and Jupiter moving to the 12th can be like that. Like your angels or guides are guiding you and protecting you and showing you the way, and helping you release old energies that are sticking onto you. And then when Jupiter moves into Leo the next year, you guys are going to have, again, that rebirth experience where you can then go out into the world and have more of the material things that come as a result of being reborn. So that's something that I definitely see for you guys. Some of you guys could travel. The 12th house is also about being far from where you are from, or being far away from what you know and the familiar. And so you might have some kind of journey. It could be an inner journey, it could be a spiritual journey, it could be a physical travel journey. But I can see you guys going through some kind of transformational process like that, where you go far from where you come from, or your origins, or your comfort zone, or your familiar places, on a symbolic or physical level, and you transform in that process and kind of discover, miracles, because the 12th house is often very much miracles, and you discover maybe a sense of freedom from things that you've been really attached to, or old stories that have stuck onto you. Maybe you discover a sense of independence or individuality in certain ways. And that makes sense because you do have Saturn and Neptune moving through your ninth house, which Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, which is a sign of the individual, and it's in the ninth house of travel. So again, I can see you guys going on some kind of adventure. Maybe you're learning something new, maybe you're physically moving, maybe you're getting into or leaving a certain dynamic with people or a place that you're from. So there's something going on here, again, some kind of journey that I see you going on that I think is really going to transform you and be very healing for you. I also pulled the communication and the Page of Swords, which to me really speak about similar topics. So Page of Swords, I really feel like this is actually kind of talking about divine intervention and divine communication. So receiving wisdom and information from your guides or from your intuition, and kind of blindly following what your mind comes up with in those moments. So I can see you guys being maybe a little bit more adaptable. This Page of Swords is somebody who is curious, who is exploratory, who is listening to kind of gut instincts and taking certain leaps of faith, and blindly in many ways, because the 12th house is usually somehow hidden from our consciousness, or our intellectual mind. So there's something here in regards to that I think you guys are going to be really tuned into something, and it's going to help you along that journey into kind of a mysterious unknown, away from, again, what is familiar to you. This card can also speak about just like needing to work on communication in general, communication in terms of relationships, your own mindset, all those types of things. But I definitely get like a spiritual element to this as well. And I also pulled the Star and the Six of Swords. And to me, this really represents you guys going on this journey. And it could be an internal one. It doesn't have to be physical. But it is one that's healing and creating more balance. It's moving you into a more peaceful time of your life. And so if you've been, very hectic, or you've been involved in drama, or if you've been reliving certain patterns that are kind of traumatic for you, or if you've been really stuck in some energy that feels really unpleasant for you, this cycle of Jupiter in your 12th is really here to kind of slough off all of that mess and get you into a place of peace and balance and healing. Just like in the womb, life is simple. And I think that, it's not always like, oh, life is super simple, because I am mentioning a journey and adventure, and that can have some complexity to it. But there is going to be an outcome, or even pockets of along the way, of this serenity and simpleness, or this purity that I think you guys are going to come into a place of. And I think it comes as a result of liberating yourself from things that feels like kind of attachments that are pulling on you and taking away your energy or keeping you stuck in a spot. And so this Jupiter energy is going to remove those attachments, which creates some simplicity, even though you will be heading into a new chapter, especially when Jupiter moves into your first house. So what other cards am I seeing? I have the Six of Cups and the King of Cups. So this definitely feels like processing and making peace with the past, with old emotions. The 12th house usually does bring up something from the past, and it helps us kind of put that cycle or that relationship or that energy, that chapter, to rest. And the King of Cups is somebody who is a master over their emotions. They understand things on an emotional and intellectual level. And so I can see you guys, again, just making peace with your past. The Five of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords feels like a cycle of lack is ending for you. So there's something here in your life. And again, this could be part of the chapter that you're closing out is some kind of chapter of feeling not enough, not good enough, not having enough support in relationships, or not being surrounded by the right people, or maybe not having enough money or having enough career success. It's going to differ depending on your individual chart, but some kind of lack in your life is going to come to an end. And I think it's going to take the whole Jupiter cycle, this whole next year, for that to kind of heal and work itself out. And then again, I think you're going to start the material growth when Jupiter moves into Leo, which will be basically July 2026 to 2027. Again, High Priestess here. This is somebody listening to their intuition, somebody spending maybe time going to church or meditating or praying or spending time in nature, and they're able to connect more to the messages and to their guides to guide them. So I see you guys being a lot more kind of like psychic at this period of time. And I also pulled the Seven of Wands in reverse and King of Wands upright. So I feel like you guys are going to have an energy shift. And I do kind of feel like this might be towards the end of Jupiter in Cancer and more into 2026 when Jupiter does move into your sign, because Jupiter in Leo feels like the King of Wands. It feels like you guys are coming into your own power, your own authority, your own regalness. It's like believing in your creativity, fully exploring it, getting to see it manifest into the physical reality. Your interest, your heart-centered interest is very Jupiter in Leo. But the Seven of Wands can represent that this maybe has been something that has exhausted you. Maybe you've kind of lost enthusiasm for certain interests that you've had, or even self-belief that you've had. Maybe you felt a little bit timid or lacked confidence. Maybe you felt really burnt out or worn down by life, like, oh, this is never going to work, or I'll never get to experience this X, Y, and Z thing. So I can see this journey of Jupiter moving through Cancer, trying to heal you from those feelings and those beliefs. And when Jupiter emerges into your first house in July 2026, I can really see you guys embracing that confidence of like, now I feel really good. I can take up space, because life has kind of maybe beat you down in certain ways. And it's almost like you're reclaiming your power and confidence and sense of self. And it's going to be that process of like rebirth that happens for you guys. So this is a really big cycle, and I'm excited to see how this unfolds for you. If this resonates, please do let me know in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I link in my description box always, along with all the other timestamps. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Virgo rising and sun. For you guys, Jupiter is moving into your 11th house when it enters into the sign of Cancer for the next year. So what is this going to bring for you? Well, Jupiter in the 11th is very auspicious when it comes to relationships. And it's cool because I did just pull the Two of Cups, which is a relationship card. So in tarot, this is a romantic connection. Typically, the Two of Cups is a soulmate connection of some sort, typically romantic in the most traditional sense. But the 11th house is a lot more than romance. It's more about our community connections, our friendships, our sense of belonging, and really finding people who are a good match for our energy. The 11th house also represents people who have things that are that will help us in life. So when other people are generous with us, when they give us job opportunities, or when we make really strong connections that can support us in our networking and our growth in our goals or our vision for life. So this placement can also bring the right people to you in every sense, in the sense of community and friendship, but also in the sense of kind of benefactors that can enhance your life by making the right connections with you, or providing you with certain opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise. So it is quite an auspicious house. The 11th house has to do with like long-term growth. The 5th and 11th and 9th house have more of this kind of uplifting energy. So to have a benefic like Jupiter move into one of these houses does provide you with a little bit more blessing than if it were in another house, especially since Jupiter is moving into Cancer, which is a sign it's exalted in. So it's basically like saying you're in a car and you're hitting all these green lights. So life is moving forward in a way that I think is going to feel really positive for you. However, there is the context of Saturn and Neptune moving through your 8th house, and that can have some challenges to it in other ways. I made a whole video about each, for each planet, Saturn in the eighth and Neptune in the eighth for you guys. So definitely check those out. Saturn and Neptune in Aries. But, I pulled the archetype of the destroyer, and I think that really speaks to these planets moving into the eighth house. So the destroyer card to me says that you guys are going to have to go through some kind of purging process. Jupiter in the 11th is going to help you gain more, connect more, especially again in terms of friendships and community. But with Saturn moving in the 8th and Neptune there as well, you're going to have to give something up in exchange for that. So you might have to leave old fears behind if you have, walls up. You might have to leave old relationships behind, or connections and attachments to the wrong types of people or patterns that you've been stuck in. It's time to kind of destroy those or cut those in order to embrace a more stable type of community or belonging or relationship than before. This could also talk about financial stuff with the Earth card coming out. Jupiter in the 11th can enhance your ability to materially succeed, to advance certain goals that you've had that have been maybe long-term goals that you thought, oh, maybe I'll get to that later. With the Earth card and Jupiter in the 11th, this really speaks to you being able to hit the ground running with that and not just have to kind of put it off for later. This is a time to really do stuff now and have opportunities arise in the present moment for stuff that you've always dreamed of doing. Something else I see with the Two of Cups is that you guys could potentially meet a partner or something else of that nature where you have some type of kind of match made in heaven. This could be even a goal where you're like, oh, this is the perfect thing that I've always wanted to do, or this is the perfect friend group, or this is the perfect relationship. And I see this being something with the King of Cups really fulfilling for you guys. I think you guys are going to feel kind of on top of the world, or at the very least, very emotionally in tune with yourself. Jupiter in Cancer is a very intuitive sign, a very emotionally centered sign and placement. So I think that you guys are going to really get a lot of the benefits from that. Maybe you are more sensitive to the needs of others, or maybe people are more sensitive to you and you're more in tune with other people, and it creates a softening in relationships. And I just see you guys being like more heart-centered, more compassionate with yourself and others, and maybe doing some healing with that Saturn also in Neptune in the 8th house. I also pulled the 10 of Cups and the King of Wands. So I love this. If some of you guys have wanted to start a family, or you've wanted to settle down somewhere, or have some kind of major change that creates that sense of feeling like a family, like, oh, this friend group is my family, or this new job, these coworkers, they're like my family, or feeling like you have roots into some kind of place that you're living, or into the groups that you're surrounded by, or even if you start some kind of like online community or online networking, feeling like you're really have this fulfillment and sense of belonging and connection there. The 10 of Cups creates that. It creates this feeling of emotional stability and connection with other people. And it's like the happiest card in the deck, truly. So I do think that you guys are going to be very emotionally fulfilled over this next year, especially with the place that you are at in, or the people that you're surrounded by. And that also, I think, is going to build you up with the King of Wands and help you kind of come into a position of leadership. The 11th house is a lot more about you interacting with the public, you interacting with the masses. So some of you guys could, if you have some kind of online presence, you could gain more attention online. If you guys wanted to kind of elevate your career in some way, you might be able to do that at this time with King of Wands. If you have some kind of creative venture and idea, it's a lot more likely to get attention or to gain traction. So there's this element of like publicity here, popularity in some kind of way. And the King of Wands shows that you have influence, and shows that you also have a lot of confidence in your message or your creativity or whatever it is that you're sharing, that helps attract people to you and kind of believe you and give you almost like a legitimacy. And maybe even people will aspire in some ways or look up to you in some ways in whatever you're doing. So if you've been wanting to achieve something or work on something for a long time, but you've kind of put it off on the back burner, or you haven't really believed in yourself, or you didn't have the right connections or opportunities or time, this Jupiter moving into your 11th to me is a sign that this is a really good time to move forward, that you're going to gain traction, gain momentum, gain recognition, that you're going to have opportunities come to you, and that you'll be able to have a lot of emotional fulfillment as a result of following those dreams or desires. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in my description along with all of the other signs. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra rising and sun. For you guys, Jupiter in Cancer over this next year is going to be happening in your 10th house. And so this is going to bring you guys the opportunity to have some major changes and growth in your career or your life goals, your life direction. Sometimes this can also reverberate back to the 4th house. So this could also indicate having major changes in your home life and your family life and your place of living. Some of you guys could be getting married and changing your name, or having children, or having some type of change or growth in your career that impacts you on a really deep level. You guys do have Saturn and Neptune both moving through Aries. So if you have your sun in Libra or your ascendant in Libra, at some point, Saturn and Neptune are going to oppose this natal sun or ascendant. So you're going through some major changes anyway, and kind of restructuring in many ways your identity or your career path. Some of you guys could have some changes in relationships or health, just because of the 7th house, 1st house axis. So those are that's like the backdrop of what's going on. And Jupiter moving into your 10th, I think in many ways is, coloring that backdrop in a way that is going to propel you forward into something that you were always meant to do or meant to experience. And so if you have been kind of resistant in any way to necessary change, this Jupiter in moving into your 10th and then Saturn Neptune opposite your sun or ascendant can kind of force you to make hard decisions, but then the Saturn can force you to make hard decisions, and then the Jupiter gives you usually some kind of silver lining, optimism, or an opportunity to move towards that's more exciting to you. So let's talk about some of the cards that I see. So first of all, I pulled the knowledge card. So this feels very much like Jupiter in the 10th house. Jupiter is a planet of wisdom, of knowledge, and it is talking about the guru, the mentor, the teacher. So some of you guys might be stepping more into that role in a public space. If you guys are younger, maybe you are going back to school, or you're acquiring the knowledge that you need to eventually take up more of a leadership position. But I think many of you guys might be switching into some kind of speaker, teacher, mentor type of role, or take on a different, be able to apply your knowledge and your wisdom in a new way. Maybe you have a kid and you're teaching your kids about life, or maybe you, take something that you're already doing and you apply it to a new area and help show other people how to do it. There's just something here with that where you are spreading more of your wisdom or your knowledge, or you could be acquiring more of it in order to advance your life or your career in some way. And then I see the Two of Swords and the Death in reverse. So there's something here where I feel like maybe you guys have been having a hard time like making up your mind with something. There could be something going on where you've had, maybe it's like something that you needed to in your career potentially, or in your like goals. Maybe you needed to make certain adjustments to those goals or to your career, or you need to make important decisions in regards to that. And the Two of Swords and Death card can indicate really kind of being at a stalemate. Maybe internally you feel confused, or you don't want to move forward, and so that creates confusion and resistance. I just see you kind of like there needs to be a new chapter come into your career goals in your future, and I feel that there's been a little bit of hesitancy around the the adjustments that are going to need to take place for this new chapter to begin. And I think Jupiter moving into your 10th is about clarifying that. With this ending in the Queen of Swords, I really see you guys making hard decisions. And again, I already mentioned that with Saturn opposite the Ascendant or the Sun. I can definitely see you guys kind of being forced to face the music in some way of okay, if I want this other thing to happen, this new chapter to begin, I need to make need to sacrifice something or make this difficult decision about, reality, that I can't take everything with me. And so there's something here about, maybe I need to move, maybe I need to change careers, maybe I need to work less if you're having kids, or maybe I need to, go into a different field of some sort. There's something here around that where you guys might have to make hard decisions. Or if you have parents that are older and they're sick, maybe you have to make the decision to do something around that to help take care of them, or put them, in a home or somewhere where they can be taken care of. Not that I recommend. Well, anyway. So yeah, I see you guys like having to initiate, like you're going through an initiation into a major new life chapter. And in that process, there's going to be some life-changing, life-altering decisions that I think you're finally, with Jupiter moving into Cancer, you're finally going to feel ready to make that, or you're going to acquire that along this year-long journey. This kind of decisiveness, this clarity, this honesty, this ability to look at the facts, to also operate from a place of integrity where you're realizing what's important to you morally, value-wise, like you're making decisions from that place. And I feel like you guys are going to be a little cutthroat where you need to, and just make the necessary decisions to say no to certain things in order to embrace or move forward in this new chapter. I also pulled the Queen archetype. So this very much feels like a Jupiter in the 10th house experience, this kind of royalty, having this impact, especially, Jupiter in Cancer, which is a feminine sign. So it's not just like, oh, you're ruling from this masculine place. You're ruling from a feminine place. So you have power and, again, rulership, but it's coming from a place of emotional and intuitive integrity, like I was mentioning. So living in alignment with what your gut is telling you is the right thing to do, and making these kind of important decisions, governing your whole life and your whole reality as the queen of your life. I could also see you guys having more impact, more influence, like I was mentioning, as a teacher, a mentor, a guide, sharing your wisdom in some kind of way. And I think the queen really represents that you might be making decisions on behalf of other people, or you might be influencing multiple people in your life. So there's something around that where it's not just about you, it's about you and others, you and the public, or you and your impact in some kind of way. I also pulled the Page of Cups, and if some of you guys are wanting to have kids, this is representing children, or maybe you already have children and there's some kind of change in their lives and some kind of new chapter also coming through. Maybe they're graduating and you're finally going to be an empty nester in some way. It feels very much like a pivotal, like, change in the chapter. So there's something here where with Saturn, Neptune on an angle and Jupiter on an angle, there's something really huge like that, where before, for the last 5-10 years, it was like this, and now it's like this. Like, I didn't have kids and now I do, or I had kids at home and now I don't, or I was in this career and now I'm in this other career, or I was working and now I'm retiring. Like, stuff like that are going to go through a major, major shift. And so for some of you guys, it could have to deal with children with this card here. But this card is also kind of speaking about like childlike innocence and naivete and wanting something from this very pure heart. And so there's something around that with you guys where it's either about children or something or someone in your life that has had that kind of that pure heartedness around it, of like just wanting something or experiencing something from that really like pure place. But then we have the 9 of Swords and 8 of Swords in reverse. So it's almost like there was something, I think, that was there's something that I think is, you have like this pure connection to it, or it is of pure nature and of innocence. And at the same time, there's some anxiety around that you are having to release. So let's say, like the example that I used of, your kid moving out of the house. You have this pure love for that child, and you have maybe anxiety around the transition of them moving away from you. And you having to release that. With these cards in reverse, you will release it, very much so. And in that process, you're actually being encouraged to change your mindset with the Ace of Swords, to think about this situation differently, to think about all the beautiful opportunities that they're going to have, and it's almost like you have to see yourself or your relationship with this person or this thing through new eyes as you transition to this new chapter. You need to reconceptualize your attachment and your identity around this thing. So if you always saw yourself as like a mom with kids at home, you now have to picture the relationship differently as they grow older, as they mature, as you become maybe more of a friend rather than a mother, maybe more of a mentor rather than a parent who takes charge and tells them what to do. So there's something here where you guys are going to have to like reconceptualize, who am I and what is my attachment to this thing, my relationship with this thing or this person or this chapter, and how do I see myself differently? Like if you're becoming a parent or if you're changing your roles, like how do you start to see yourself as maybe the manager or as a parent through new eyes? So there's so many examples, but I think you guys understand that your public facing identity is changing, and it's also changing from the inside. So that's something that you're going to have to reconceptualize for yourself. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. If that makes sense or resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, you can check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com. I will also link that in my description, and you can find all the other timestamps there for the other groups. If you enjoyed this, please support my channel by giving me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, or have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and next we have Scorpio rising in Sun. Jupiter moving into Cancer this next year is going to take place in your 9th house. So what is that going to bring for you? The 9th house is a house of travel, of higher education, of expansion, of learning, of adventure. So some of you guys could be having some type of development in that way. It doesn't have to be the case, but usually there's something around those topics that can come to light for you. So we also have, Saturn, Neptune in the 6th house. So that is going to kind of color the overall energy of Jupiter in Cancer. Saturn and Neptune in the 6th house, I did a whole separate video on both of those planets, on both of those transits. So make sure you check that out. But the 6th house is a lot more about kind of that daily grind, that daily work, that daily routine. And so there may be some transformation or endings or change in that area of your life. Your day-to-day work, your health, your routines can all look different. And as Jupiter moves into your 9th house, you might be trying to grow or elevate your life in some way. So maybe you try to change up your health routine, and you are more strict with your diet, and it helps you elevate your physical body by maybe working out more, trying new things, or learning more about the body. So that's just an example. But let's talk about this in terms of the cards that I'm seeing. And generally, you can keep in mind that Jupiter in the 9th is going to be quite uplifting and help you kind of get into a positive headspace. So the first card that I pulled was the Bridge. So I really feel like this Jupiter in the 9th is about traveling from one place to another. And this could be a physical bridging of two realities where you are literally moving into a new place, or it could be a bridging of where you are versus where you want to be. So there's some kind of journey that you're going on, and I said that for another group too. And I also pulled the Ocean card. So some of you guys could be going on a cruise, or moving to somewhere near the ocean, or you could be going on overseas flights that goes over the ocean. But there's something here of like a period of maybe transition that you're going to be going through with this Jupiter energy, with the Bridge and the Ocean card. It feels like you're crossing over from one version of yourself or one reality to another. And in that process, you're going to be kind of going through the ocean, or the messy middle, the uncertain place, where you're kind of, you might have moments of feeling a little bit lost. And then this Jupiter in Cancer can bring about very strong guidance and intuition around how to keep moving forward. And there are going to be points in time with this Revelation card where you have like an awakening or an aha moment. Jupiter in the 9th can really help you connect more to your truth, to your future, to part of your destiny. The 9th house has a prophetic nature to it. So I don't know. I feel like you guys are going to be going through this kind of, again, this transition. And during that process, I think that you're going to have these kind of moments of like clarity or epiphany or awakening that is going to help you understand what this journey is about, or where you're going, or what you need to do next in order to stay in alignment with that kind of future goal that you have. Yeah, it's like when you read a book and they have a prophecy of what's going to happen. There's something around that where you guys might feel like that something is destined to happen, or you just have this strong vision of you attaining something or experiencing something, and there may be moments where you feel lost with it, and then moments where you have absolute clarity as a result of Jupiter being activated in your ninth house. So what are the other cards? I have Page of Pentacles and Seven of Pentacles. So there is something here that I think you are starting on a long-term journey with when it comes to a particular goal. This is a physical goal, so it's something that you can touch, that you can feel. So this is going to be something like starting a new job that makes you more money, or going to a new physical location, moving homes. It could be even a relationship. You know, a person is something physical. So, but there's something in your physical reality that you're just going to be starting as a result of Jupiter in Cancer. If you're already on this path, it's something that is like at its beginning phases. So if you're like, oh, I kind of already started something, could it be that? Yes, it could be that, but it's something that has not fully grown yet. So this Jupiter in Cancer is going to help mature and stabilize and help you invest more energy and effort into this thing. So if it's a career, maybe you're putting more energy into that career. If it's a move or a relationship, maybe you're putting more energy into that. But it's something that's going to stay for a long time. It's something that has a lot of longevity. It's very connected to your future self. And Jupiter in Cancer is going to help you cultivate a commitment. And this is very much, again, Saturn up to in the sixth house. What does the everyday reality look like as you're putting energy into this thing and you're being responsible and dedicating or sacrificing for this thing? And then Jupiter in the ninth helps you maintain connected to the long-term vision of it and have the ability to do the daily humdrum work because you see the meaning and purpose. You see where you're headed. You see the vision, and you know it's going to take some time to get there, and it will help you have like an emotional, intuitive connection to that goal so that you don't just kind of like give up. So for some of you, this could be financial, it could be family oriented, home oriented, but it feels like it's going to create roots for you, and that Jupiter in Cancer is going to help you see what you need to do to get there. I also pulled the Five of Cups. So there's something about Jupiter in the ninth that I think is going to help you heal any kind of negative mindset. The ninth house is very optimistic, again, very future oriented. It sees the possibilities. It sees what it wants clearly. And it doesn't focus so much on like, oh, it's not going to work out, or look at all these things that didn't work out in the past. It doesn't focus on that. It focuses on what's ahead. And so I really see you guys being able to process with the Five of Cups and then the Six of Cups kind of describing it. I see you guys kind of processing past disappointments and letting those go so that they don't creep up into your mindset now. I feel like you're really getting rid of limiting beliefs. You're seeing yourself for I think it might take this whole process of Jupiter in Cancer. It might take this whole year, but I think that you guys are really going to prove to yourself how capable you are. And through that process, it's going to help remove past disappointments or this kind of like nostalgia. Oh, like I wanted my life to look like this. I almost feel like there's some kind of grief around that you guys are going to be just throwing away, you know, instead of, because you've had Jupiter in the eighth, which is a little bit more around like emotional processing and things that have already happened. Now it's the light is shining. The sun has come out. We're not focusing on that past anymore. You know, we're not focusing on like what could have been in that one relationship way back when, or whatever it was. It's like, it feels all very trivial now and unimportant in terms of, you know, your emotions. And I see you guys loosening any attachment to what has been or what could have been, or, you know, anything from the past that has lingered in your energy field. I see you getting rid of that. And when you do that through this process, I really feel like you're going to hit the ground running with Eight of Wands and the King of Wands describing this card. I see you moving very quickly. I see you having very clear goals and a lot of willpower and momentum to get those things done. I see you guys being able to focus and prioritize and feel confident enough that you can have what you want, that you deserve what you want, that you are capable, that it's happening for you. I just feel like you guys are going to be moving a lot faster as Jupiter moves into Cancer. Before, I think that there was an energy that may have slowed you down a little bit in order to kind of help you, again, process with Jupiter moving through your eighth, things that have already happened, or disappointments or divorces or losses or whatever. And I see you guys kind of like having that period last year of coming to terms with that. And now you are about building your future, investing in your future, seeing to long-term goals, really feeling again that you can move forward quite quickly and that you are capable of having those things that you desire. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you want a reading from me, you can check my website out in the description box down below, cosmicclarityastrology.com. All the other signs are in the description box down below as well. So I hope to see you there, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. Jupiter in Cancer from June this year, 2025 to 2026, is taking place or transiting through your 8th house. So the 8th house is often the house where things get a little bit messy, where we have quite a bit of emotional entanglements, where we have financial mixings with other people. And when Jupiter moves through here, it can help us kind of create clarity, heal, or grow past some entanglements that have been toxic, unhealthy, or linked to things that are maybe from the past that have kind of kept us down in some way. So a lot of this next year for you is going to be about some kind of like inner work that can affect your relationships, can affect your commitments and what you want to put your energy towards. The 8th house is also, again, a house of other people's money. And so some of you guys could take out mortgages, could take out loans, could receive inheritances. That's a very much Jupiter in the 8th house experience of having some kind of opportunity come as a result of other people's financial situation affecting you, including banks, companies, things of that nature, investments even. So this is very much a time to be growing in terms of emotional intimacy and connection with people, to kind of work through those layers of entanglements and attachments to things that again are kind of toxic in some way. And it's a really good time to be able to kind of learn how to nurture oneself in a more profound way. And I can see that with this nectar card. The nectar really represents the archetype of something that is sweet, that is good, that fills your heart, right? It's a thing that nourishes the hummingbird, for example. And so there's something about this of learning how to nourish yourself. And part of that could be by saying no or walking away from certain entanglements, attachments, investments, wherever you have emotional energy, physical energy, time put into something, money put into something. You might realize, hey, this thing isn't actually nourishing me, so I'm going to walk away from it. Or I'm going to change my relationship with this thing because, or this person or situation, because the way that I'm currently investing into it is actually depleting me and it's not reciprocated in a healthy way. So there's something about that where you are changing your relationship to something or someone in order to make it more nourishing. It could be by having boundaries. It could be by walking away. It could be by finding a new version of that, or it could be by just healing or confronting certain elements of that relationship. And I think, or that thing. And I think that, you know, for a lot of you guys with this radical acceptance card, a big part of this process is accepting that this thing or this situation or this relationship isn't going to change. So accepting that person for who they are, accepting this situation for how it is, looking at the reality of something, I think is going to be, again, what provides you a lot of freedom by not trying to fix or change something to be something it won't, and constantly living in a state of maybe dissatisfaction or discomfort because the desire doesn't match the reality. So I see you guys coming into a radical acceptance and finding out how to be more nourished by the situations that you're in, by not trying to kind of like beat a dead horse or stay in something that doesn't work for you, that kind of thing. And I see that with the 7 of Cups in reverse, the first thing that came up into my mind was disillusionment. The 7 of Cups is related to Neptune, and one really common trait of Neptune is to be going through process of illusion and then disillusion, where you are really kind of seeing the rose-colored glasses and then it comes off the pedestal and you're like, oh shit, that's really disappointing. I thought this was perfect. So there's something about this where you might go through a process of disillusionment in some way, of seeing something for what it really is and radically accepting that thing. With the 10 of Wands in reverse actually makes you feel a complete relief. So you would think that allowing yourself to be disillusioned would be painful, and I'm sure that there could be some potential for that. But really how I see this is a relief, a true healing that comes from owning and accepting things how they are, because from that place you can make the best decision for you based off of the real potential for the outcome to occur, rather than an idealized version of the outcome that you project into the world. So I see you guys, again, truly owning and accepting things for how they are, allowing yourself to experience maybe a disillusionment over an ideal, and from that place, freeing yourself and making adjustments accordingly to get to a version of reality that's possible and nourishing. So it's almost like, because you're willing to accept that something doesn't live up to the hype, or isn't what you thought it would be, or isn't perfect and idealized like you thought it would be, because you're able to accept that, from that place you can again make a decision to build towards something that will fulfill you in that way. So I hope this is making sense. I know I keep repeating things, but okay. After this, we have the 3 of Cups and the Devil card. So this particularly could bring up some interesting things in regards to relationships. So there's 2 things here. The 3 of Cups can be like a relationship card, but it can also be a card of celebration and anticipation, expectation, right? Of this is going to work and this is going to be so good that I'm going to have something to celebrate at the end of it. So some of you guys with the Devil card could really be looking at certain attachments or limiting beliefs, or just like thought processes that are maybe a little bit messy and get entangled and unhealthy, or distorted in some way in perspective. So that thought process like that around relationships, or maybe around certain expectations in life, I can see you guys having to work through that. So let's say, for example, I'll use myself as an example. I really hate my birthday. Part of the reason is because I think there are a lot of expectations I put on my birthday, or at least I used to. And it seemed like they would always lead to disappointments. I had a certain vision of what was going to happen, and then, the ball would get dropped. And so it left me feeling way worse than if I just had a normal day, because I set myself up to kind of like have some type of, drop, mood drop of like, I think it's going to be here, and then it's actually here. So that is this, or even relationally, as well, like having certain expectations of others, like this person is going to do this and they're going to throw me a surprise party and we're going to have the best time. And then you come to that day and then they forget your birthday, or they forget to even celebrate you, or they just send you a text, or it's like, this is just an example. I'm not saying that that's personally what I was going through, but there is something about that where it's like, I kind of think and want this to be this way. I want to celebrate with this person or have this kind of relationship. And then there's some stuff that comes up, and then it causes some messiness internally of like, oh, well, do they not even like me? And is this ever going to happen? And then it kind of sends you into a little bit of a headspace. Well, Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th is about cleaning all of that up. So if that has happened in the past, Jupiter in Cancer comes into your 8th house and says, okay, let's fix all this. Let's make it so that you are able to see things clearly. Let's make it so that you are able to release those limiting beliefs, or those kind of thought processes that developed as a result of those disappointments, or those things working out indifferently than you thought they would. And from that place, clearing up relationship attachments and limiting beliefs around relationships, all those things that I'm mentioning, I see Jupiter kind of like street cleaning. Like, let's get rid of this thought. Let's get rid of this issue in this dynamic. And from that place, I see you having a lot of clarity and this kind of fresh start, a lot of optimism. So if you got kind of jaded, Jupiter in the 8th can help you clean that up so that you're not jaded anymore. And that could be part of the disillusionment process. Sometimes you feel relief, but sometimes you also feel jaded because you thought it was going to be one thing and then it was another. So I think ultimately Jupiter in the eighth is trying to help you see things clearly and accept them, but also release any emotions or limiting beliefs or issues that come up as a result of disillusionment or disappointment as things don't live up to that hype. And you have to, like, acclimatize yourself to a new version of reality. And I see Jupiter doing this so well that you become kind of like a new kid, like a kid almost. And this could relate to Saturn, Neptune moving through your fifth house, of children and childlike energy. You guys could be reborn in a way. I mean, not totally reborn, but like coming back to this kind of fresh perspective in that way, and having a mindset shift that feels a lot more optimistic and lighthearted and looking forward to the future and what's to come. So I think Jupiter in the eighth is going to do a lot of that. Again, kind of getting rid of the disappointments in life and recalibrating you and thinking more optimistically about the future as a result of that work. I have another set of messages here through the cards. So I have the Justice card and the Four of Pentacles. So to me, this is something, there's a couple ways that this can manifest, but I really, whenever I see the Four of Cups, this is somebody who is rejecting something or is apathetic about an opportunity. And the Justice is something that is like a karmic outcome, like a karmic retribution, or not in a negative or a positive, but a neutral sense. So I put in this work and I get this opportunity. So I see something like this where you put in certain effort or you did certain things in your life, and now you're getting an opportunity coming to you that is, or there's something is happening for you that is like maybe you wanted it previously, or you put in the effort, or you did something and it's having an outcome and it's approaching you, but you are saying no. So like, let's say you, this is not really the best example because it shows like a lot of intention put towards something, which it might not have this much intention. But let's say you applied to a school somewhere or a job and then you got it. This would be you saying, actually, I don't want that job anymore. It doesn't have to be so obvious that you put in an application to do something. It could be just that you've done something in general in your life and it's resulting in a specific outcome. Whatever this outcome is, either positive, negative, neutral, it is going to cause you to say no. Like, I don't want that thing. And I don't know what this is. So, but there's some kind of idea, opportunity, or energy coming back to you as a result of you putting it out there. It's like the boomerang. You threw that energy out into the universe and it's coming back to you. And then you're like, nope, I don't want that. So there's something about that happening as a result of Jupiter moving into Cancer. And the eighth house can be like that. It often is a house of letting things go or saying no to things and clearing things away. It's like clearing the cobwebs, clearing the energy out, clearing the entanglements. And I see something coming back to you that you maybe approached in a previous energy or a previous mindset that's, again, coming back to you. And you're like, I'm not there anymore. I'm going to clear that out. I'm going to say no to that. I actually think that this decision is going to reduce a lot of stress with the Eight of Swords in reverse. I think that if you had forced things and kind of, not forced it, but if you had opened your arms to that opportunity, I do think it would have added additional stress into your life. And so on an intuitive level, Jupiter in Cancer is very psychic, very intuitive. You kind of knew it wasn't right. And so there's something here where you guys are saying no, disengaging from some kind of opportunity that's coming towards you. Like, let's say, for example, it was a job promotion. You've been working really hard and you got a job promotion. Maybe you say no. And on an intuitive level, you kind of know that if you took that job, that you would have a lot more work, a lot less time. You might even get paid less if you're salaried. And it's almost like, maybe you don't logically think about all that, but there's something here of like, I just have this feeling that I shouldn't take this and I'm not going to do it. And so the universe provides you with an opportunity and you say no, and it acts as a protection mechanism from further commitment and stress on a path that was going to last a long time. With the Page of Pentacles and Seven of Pentacles in reverse, it is some kind of physical, material, or financial path that you're saying no to that was going to last a long time, like I said. So something that wasn't just like an easy thing, like, oh, I'll just go back to the previous position. It's like, no, because maybe it was filled and then you'd have to get a whole new job and you'd have to stay there because of insurance and this and that. So there's something about this We're saying no to something that is going to cut off the potential for a long-term path, but by doing so, you're less stressed. So this could be like another example. It could be you, maybe you're in school and you've been working in school and you've been wanting to do this, and that's something that you originally got from the universe. And now you're like, I'm year 2, I'm stressed out. I don't think I want to do this anymore. I think I want to walk away from this thing. It's too much, and it's, it's something that I signed up for years, but I just like can't see myself finishing this and going on to do this for my career. So I walk away, and it reduces stress. So I really feel like the universe is encouraging you. If there's something in your life that you kind of want to say no to, or you don't want to continue down that path, and you want to like walk away and say no to something, reject something, this is saying to trust your own instincts with that. So I kind of want to pull some additional advice here, Spirit. So the 10 of Cups and then the 4 of Pentacles. Yeah, so the 10 of Cups to me is like really somebody, when you listen to your heart, even if it doesn't logically always make sense, it does lead you to a true sense of fulfillment at the end of the day. Because the journey might be complicated, it might not always be fun, it might not always feel good, but when you are listening to your intuition and your heart, it eventually will spit you out at the exact place that you internally, through an essence level, always wanted, even if it looks different on the outside. So I think that you guys are going to potentially say no to something for a greater fulfillment, for a different purpose, potentially for family, because the 10 of Cups is often like family, or some other like bigger ideal that you really want. By doing so, with the 4 of Pentacles, this could indicate that you are needing to save money. This could indicate that you are kind of choosing to be more conservative with your finances, or to take a more take a financial cut for this thing. For example, there's something about that where you might have to make certain sacrifices or be more conservative, especially monetarily. But it is going to be something that has a lot more happiness. So the money is potentially long-term that could change, but there's something here around saving money, being careful with your money, in order to get to some kind of, and, listen to your intuition in order to get to some kind of really happy and fulfilling result. So that was a long message. You guys were the longest out of everybody. I hope that's helpful though. If it is, let me know in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, you can check out my website, cosmicclarityastrology.com. And I also link it in my description, along with all the other timestamps for the other signs. Please don't forget to comment, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next you have Capricorn rising and sun. For you guys, Jupiter moving into Cancer will take place in your 7th house of relationships. So you guys can likely see some bigger growth when it comes to the people that you connect to. You might meet new people. You might change the way that you are in relationships, heal past circumstances in relationships and patterns, and grow past them. You guys do have the backdrop of Saturn and Neptune in Aries in your 4th house, which does bring up stuff from the past where you're processing your past, you're processing things from your family, you are maybe changing certain elements of your home or your family situation. And that is going to kind of clear or make way for new types of relationships to emerge. And the 7th house is also contracts as well as legal matters. So, and this is something I see in the cards, you guys could be having something become more settled in legal matters, or relationships or contracts might have a fair kind of resolution as a result of Jupiter in the 7th. So let's go over the cards. I pulled the mirror for you. This really represents the 7th house. The 7th house mirrors and reflects the consciousness that doesn't feel as integrated in the 1st house of the self. That's what relationships do. They mirror parts of you that you haven't fully seen, heard, understood, accepted, that you then project onto or encounter in other people to kind of fill in that missing piece. So I can see you guys learning a lot through relationships over this next year as you have things mirrored back to you and how that reflects into your own consciousness and being. I also pulled a potential upright and illusion in reverse. So I think that some of you guys might be entering into a new way of seeing things. Jupiter is a planet of wisdom and of understanding that I think is going to shift your perspective on relationships. With the potential card upright, I think that you guys are going to be able to see things for the potential of what it is without getting caught up in the illusion of what somebody could be. So this is definitely, speaking about relationships and people, sometimes you can be attracted to someone for their potential is what I'm trying to say, or maybe who they again could be in the future, or how you could see things developing, or you kind of focus on the positive sides of them, but you don't see the reality of where they are at right now or what they struggle with right now, and you haven't maybe accepted that. So I can see with these cards together, you're learning how, with Jupiter moving through Cancer over this next year, you're learning how to kind of get your head on straight when it comes to the acceptance of somebody, while also encouraging their potential, but not being deluded by the I guess, how do I say this? Not being delusional of like, oh, well, I see this potential and so I'm going to marry them or be with them or be friends with them, but they're not actually on that path and they're kind of far from that path. So it's a really healthy mindset and balance that I see you coming into, where you're able to focus on the person actually in front of you, be okay with the relationship or the person as they are, help encourage them and see their potential and encourage them to their potential as well. This is vice versa. People could do this to you, but not be attached to this delusional outcome of things, of them being suddenly a different person than who they are. And that goes the same for your sense of self. So other people could be mirroring back to you the same element, where people are going to maybe help you understand your own potential without getting caught up in the illusion of a perfect fantasy of what things could be for yourself. So there's something about like really accepting reality while still pursuing something greater, something better. And in that process, also having your head on straight when it comes to not getting overly idealized or idolizing others, that type of thing. I hope that makes sense. I pulled the Five of Swords and the Devil card. So to me, this definitely feels like there's some type of conflict going on here, some type of issues in regards to relationships that could have been going on. Maybe you guys have had like a lot of issues from your past. Saturn and Neptune the fourth can help you kind of work through that. If you've had if you come from a broken home, if you grew up really fast, you might notice how that translates into your relationships and what you look for in people. And Jupiter in the seventh can help you really break that down and unravel all of the attachments, and, codependency or addictions or, obsessions with people, or even like weird like sexual things that you might be a part of that are really a representation of wounding and past wounding or family dynamics that were unhealthy. And I say family dynamics because of Saturn and Neptune the fourth. That can really come up where you're like, actually, that's not really me. That's this whole family dynamic playing out. Like if you were abused, you might kind of play out those same things in your current relationships. And you might realize like, I'm being attracted to this unhealthy cycle. So I can see you guys really working through some of the, I guess, arguments or pain points or toxicity or shadow elements of yourself in relationships. And if you're in any kind of like unhealthy, toxic patterns, I can really see you guys coming to a place of conclusion with that. Maybe not completely where it's like, oh, I'm never have any issues, but in the sense that I'm not just stuck in like a washing machine going through the same things over and over again. For some of you guys, this could indicate a situation in which things are really tense and you don't really see a way out. So if you're stuck in like a law disagreement, what is it even called? A legal battle of some sort, you guys might feel very much like push and pull, very anxious. You don't really see light at the end of the tunnel. So there's something in regards to like a cycle, being stuck in some kind of cycle of like fighting, legal battle, unhealthy dynamics with people, family patterns playing out in relationships, stuff like that could be going on, even at work too, where there could be stuff going on with like the company that you work for and it stresses you out, or the school that you go to and the people that you're around and it makes you uncomfortable, or your parents, or your mother-in-law, or your father-in-law. Like there's something about that where it's like there's some kind of tense dynamic or some kind of pattern or cycle that you're stuck in that's causing anxiety. And I see that this is all going to resolve itself with the Justice and the Six of Pentacles. This very much feels like a just and fair outcome, that if there is some kind of dispute with someone or something, like if you're fighting over inheritance or property, or you're getting a divorce and you have to separate your assets, this feels very much like everyone's going their own way. Things are really fair, they're very balanced, and there's just the right thing that is the outcome, the right thing to do happens. So this could also be a fight where you're having some kind of issues with somebody and you're able to resolve that in a fair and healthy, balanced way. Or if you've been in these toxic relationships that really throw you off balance, or maybe you're with people who take a lot and they don't really give, or you have felt like that maybe just some dynamics that have felt unfair or unhealthy. I see things coming into a fair and healthy, balanced place where you are meeting people who give as much as they receive, who are wanting to do the work that you're wanting to do, who are fair with you around certain things, who aren't trying to control you or make you feel bad or manipulate you. Again, it's going to be so different depending on your unique circumstances, but I really see this feeling of having a just, fair outcome and people being like equal with you. And Jupiter in the 7th is very much about that sense of equality. It's a very moral planet, high integrity, following one's moral compass. And when it's in the 7th house of legal matters and justice, that moral like energy is coming back to you. So things will turn out fair. What's interesting is I pulled two other cards that are both sevens, and these are the only cards that came out in reverse in the tarot. So we got the Seven of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So I thought that this was really interesting because everything else came out upright except sevens. And seven in astrology, it relates to the 7th house, is about relationships. So some of you guys could be leaving certain relationships, especially ones that you maybe have like put on a pedestal. This could also be a relationship with an entity, like you working for a company and your relationship with that company, or whatever it is. But I see you guys potentially seeing something for what it truly is and deciding to walk away because you realize that there is no long-term investment here. So like, let's say, for example, this could be with really your relationship with anything. So, but let's just say it's like you're working for a company and you realize that they're never going to promote you. You're never going to make the kind of money you want to make there. And you finally see this thing for what it is. And so maybe you kind of take your fair and just outcome into your own hands by saying, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to choose to find a career that does make me the money that I want to make, that does value my contributions or gives me some type of leadership position that I deserve. So there's something going on here with that where you're going to get a fair and just outcome. But for some of you, it could require you to actually decide that you're going to walk away from something. So that's kind of why I saw it as like potentially for some of you separating or divorce, separation of assets of some sort, leaving something behind, because that involves both elements of having a fair outcome and deciding to divest or uninvest or take yourself away from something that you've been putting time, energy, and money or love into that is like not actually what you thought it was in the beginning. The last card that you have is the Four of Pentacles. So I do think that this process could leave you a little bit more guarded in certain ways. But I think it's coming from a place of protection. I think, let me pull a clarifier just to make sure. Some of you guys could leave the situation with a lot more savings. Yeah, Nine of Cups. So this does feel like a positive thing with the Nine of Cups being a card of wish fulfillment. I see you guys leaving this situation with maybe better boundaries, better protection mechanisms in relationships, better understanding of what your needs are in relationships and what the other person's needs are, or this company that you work for, the entity. that you're in relationship with. I see like a development of maybe self-worth or an understanding of how to protect and guard your energy and your money. Maybe you'll leave the situation with quite a bit of savings, but there's something here of like you kind of go through this process of maybe having some kind of threat or toxicity, and then things turn out quite fair and you're able to leave whatever this dynamic or this thing is and come out a lot stronger or a lot safer, a lot more secure and protected in some kind of way, especially financially. So that's really what I see for you guys. I really hope that makes sense. I don't know what this is talking about particularly, so I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below what you relate this to in your life, or if you can see this playing out. Don't forget to also give me a thumbs up and subscribe to help my channel grow. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in my description box down below, along with all the other timestamps for the other signs. And I will see you guys another time. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius rising and sun. Jupiter in Cancer from June 2025 to June 2026 will be transiting through your 6th house of work and health. So the most obvious examples of Jupiter in this house are going to be having some kind of growth or change within your career or the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. And you guys might want to have more freedom. You might want to operate, especially with, Cancer being here, you might want to operate a little bit more intuitively when it comes to taking care of your health, the free time that you have, the way that you manage your day. You guys might be coming into a phase of realizing, I want to rest more, or I want to go out and do hobbies more, or I want to have a balance between X, Y, and Z. And having a little bit more of this sense of like doing what you want to do in your day-to-day life and not just your obligations. Saturn in the 6th house, Saturn in Cancer is very much like sacrifice and duty and working super hard. But with Jupiter here, it's almost like, but what if we don't have to work that hard? What if we can do more of what we want to do so it feels like it's less work? What if we can take care of our health in a fun way by doing sports or activities that feel exciting to us? So it's removing a lot of like this sense of duty and expectation, responsibility, and coming more into play and fun and opportunities that feel really good for you. And I can see that with the creator archetype coming in for you. You guys need to think more about how to come into that creator mindset. How do I think, like, how can I create my dream life? And that might require thinking outside of the box. We do have Uranus later this summer moving into Gemini, and that's going to trine your ascendant or your sun, whatever is in Aquarius. And that's going to give you the opportunity to shake up your life and think outside of the box in different ways. How could I create my dream life? Would that look like working less? Would that look like retiring early? Would that look like having a better balance between my work and my kids, or my work and my home? Would that mean traveling more or resting more? Or maybe there's a creative project I really want to see come to light, and I create the time for that, or I create more spaciousness and not try to have the same type of work and schedule that I normally have in order to make that happen. So come up with what your dream life is. And this next year is about making the necessary changes to get that in place. And with the Transformation Miracles card, I absolutely feel like this is something that can change for you in a miraculous way. I think right now you might see like the potential for this, but you might also feel quite restricted. You do have Saturn and Neptune in your 3rd house, which can sometimes limit your mindset with things. Specifically Saturn, it can make you see more dead ends rather than doors or windows. And Jupiter can help you kind of get a little unstuck with that. It can help you see where there are opportunities, where you might be able to take advantage of something to kind of curate your desired life. It's like picking out each kind of piece of the furniture of your life, the staple of your life. And you can trust that miracles will come through to support this vision and this dream as you start to make changes. Or things could change without you wanting them to change, and they could kind of force you to think more creatively about what's next for yourself. But ultimately, I think it's about thinking positively and thinking more about independence and like what you want as an individual for your day-to-day life to look like, instead of trying to comply to fit into an existing field or an existing like work day. And right when I said that, my like smoke detector went off, which is never done before. It just started chirping. So that feels like very relevant for you guys. Okay, let's talk about the cards. So I got the Four of Cups. So the Four of Cups is somebody who is like really bored. There's something in your life that I feel like that you are responsible for or that you do on a day-to-day basis in your work that is really that you're not engaged with anymore. The Four of Cups is somebody who's like, I'm kind of over that. Like, you know, I've done this for 20 years, or I've done this enough that I could do it with my eyes closed, or it's just not fulfilling me anymore. So the Four of Cups is starting off the reading saying that there's something in your life that you are not emotionally fulfilled by right now. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles. This is somebody who goes off and does something on their own. They have quite a bit of money in savings, or they have like an independent nature about them. So there's something about this that's saying you don't need to comply with the expectation of society or of what you've always done. You can go off and do something on your own that is for you, that is separate from what you're currently doing or this group that you're in or the community that you're part of. There's something here where it's like you can kind of go off. You can go off on your own and do what you want to do for you and take care of yourself financially along the way. So I don't know. It's just kind of saying something of like, don't be afraid to separate. Don't be afraid to go on your own because you're going to be able to take care of yourself if you need to. Don't be afraid to do something to like kind of break free from maybe an institution that you're a part of or a routine that you're always doing that you feel. It's just saying like, don't be afraid to kind of, again, stand on your own 2 feet and somehow disengage from that. After that, we have the Page of Swords. So there's some kind of news, idea, communication, something that happens where you have some type of like realization or something shifts as a result of receiving news. So this could be an idea for a new career. This could be receiving news that you're going to be changed into a new location and you don't want to do that, or you're going to be let go, or something like this where it's like it's kind of forcing this shift in your foundations, and you're receiving that news or you're having that idea to make a change to the foundations, and it could temporarily lead to less income. There could be a little bit of constriction of finances here. So if you don't have, like if you go through a temporary bout of having less money, I wouldn't worry about this because this is something that you're meant to go off and do. So if you have to leave the security of something behind, just know with that Nine of Pentacles at the beginning, you are going to be okay on your own. So even though you might like leave the nest of some kind of organization, institution, or thing that you've always done or job that you've always been a part of, it's okay because that thing on the other side is going to help you. Like there's something on the other side that's going to help you stabilize and be independent. With the Hangman and the Temperance, I can see that you might go through a little bit of a wobble, as English people would say, or a little bit of a period of like reflection after this happens. You might go through a period of a pause, introspection, and almost like needing to process and heal. So let's say you decide to leave your job, or you decide to leave some aspect of your job. That might be something that gave you a lot of financial security and was something you did every single day. So it might require a little bit of like recalibration in order for you to kind of get back out there into doing something new, even if it's not work, if it's something else. But there's some energy here of like, I need to maybe rest. I need to pause. I need to reflect on this period of time and what this taught me. I need to process this and maybe heal a little bit or come back into balance, because maybe you've been really overworked, or maybe you just weren't emotionally fulfilled by what you're doing. And so whatever this is, it's trying to help you kind of fill up your own cup again, rejuvenate your soul again. And from there, I have the Eight of Wands in reverse and the Lovers. So this feels like somebody who is making the choice to slow down a little bit or not have so many irons in the skillet, or whatever that is saying. So like not trying to do too much too fast all at once. This is like coming into a shift in your energy, a shift in your lifestyle that will allow you to focus on things that are actually much more important to you, that will allow you to reprioritize. So it feels again like you're kind of curating your life and creating more space in your life to look and feel the way you want it to feel, rather than just having this duty and fulfilling that duty and not thinking about it. So a lot more soul connection here. I'm very excited for you guys. If this resonates, let me know in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarity.astrology.com. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces rising and sun. Jupiter in Cancer for this next year from June 2025 to 2026 is happening in your fifth house, moving through your fifth house. So what is that going to bring? First of all, to have Jupiter move into an exalted sign is already positive. The fifth house is also a really beneficial house. It tends to grow your joys, your comforts, your desires, your finances. So I do think that this is overall a positive experience for you guys, especially with Jupiter being in a water sign now. It trines your ascendant. So it's basically makes blessings more available to you. On a more astrological sense, kind of in the, I guess, a stereotype of the fifth house with Jupiter here is to have children, or to want to start a family, or to maybe meet a partner, or to have more friends, or to start some kind of creative project or hobby or way of expressing yourself that you've always wanted to do, to go on trips, or to feel freer, to have more fun. So that's the kind of energy of Jupiter in the fifth astrology wise. I do see kind of intense cards. That's why I wanted to preface it that way. But I feel like you guys are coming into a process of maturation around something. The first card that I pulled for you was the crone. And the crone is the end archetype for the woman figure. So somebody who has reached end of life, who has a lot of wisdom and knowledge to share, who can now reap the benefits and rewards of past efforts, or past experiences and energy put into things. And so some of you guys might be coming into a phase of reaping some kind of abundance reward, or having more wisdom that can guide you into specific circumstances that previously you may have fumbled with or made mistakes around. And now you can finally have some kind of, I guess, fruition of something, or some positive experience, because you now know what kind of decisions to make. So it's like if you make a bunch of mistakes, for example, starting a business, you learn then what it takes to start and run a business, so that the next venture that you go on can be successful kind of from the start to some degree. I also pulled the vessel card. So I think that many of you guys could be wanting to have kids, because the vessel does kind of represent the physical body, especially with this womb here. Being a container for something, and that could be children. But for a lot of you, obviously that won't be the case. Some of you guys also are not men or are not women. So regardless, you could be some kind of vessel for a message, for a creative endeavor, for some type of thing that you are meant to birth into reality. So pregnancy in all of its metaphorical or symbolic sense could also be relevant here, where you are pregnant with a new idea or information, or some kind of creative venture that you are meant to be sharing with the world. I also pulled the moon, which is the planet that rules over Cancer, where Jupiter is in. So there's definitely something here around kind of understanding the cycles of life. And this relates back to the crone archetype, that after a crone has gone through many, many seasons of life, she understands when she's in a specific season and how to work with the energy of that season, rather than resist and try to make everything, a summer day. I think it's important, this moon card and the Jupiter in Cancer, to learn the wisdom of timing, to understand when it's okay to push, to move forward, to be assertive, when you need to pause, when you need to heal and reflect, when you maybe need to connect or socialize or turn within. It's all got its own season to it. And so I feel like you guys are going to be a lot more intuitive and in flow with life, and in connection with the season of life that you're in, and can operate and optimize within that season in the best possible way. And I think that you guys are going to feel more assured about the future. So even though you might be in a season of transition or fluctuation, or maybe not having the results of something yet, I can still see you guys, with Jupiter being in such a positive aspect to the ascendant, I can still see you guys being very hopeful and aware that what you want is coming towards you, with this assurance in the future. It's almost like I can enjoy the season of life that I'm in right now, because I know that the next season is also going to have what I want in it, and that I'm not going to have to force it all to happen right now. I can enjoy each pace and each present moment, so that I can, yeah, just like make the most out of life. This feels like being more present and enjoying more of your current reality and feeling really hopeful and positive that good things are coming to you in the future as well. So let's see the other cards that I have. So I pulled the Five of Swords. So some of you guys with the Four of Pentacles, some of you guys could be going through a little bit of phase of like worry about money. It doesn't have to be money, but it could be some kind of security. Like let's say you know you're in between homes, or you are in between jobs, or you're trying to have some type of transition in your life. I could see you guys feeling a little bit concerned or stressed about the limbo stage of something, or the fact that you might not have like something totally figured out, or enough savings, or enough, you know, a secure place, like you don't have a lease for that year, or whatever it is. There's something here around being in maybe a fluctuation period, and having that kind of bring up a little bit of that survival instinct, almost of, you know, how do I control things to make sure that I have what I need and that I'm safe. And so Jupiter moving through Cancer can help you with that process. Jupiter in Cancer is about protection and security. And so if you felt kind of leading up to this moment like that limbo or uncertain, I can see that Jupiter moving into Cancer will help push you into the threshold of being in a more safe place, or being comfortable with where you are at, even if there's still some transition left to go through. And I can see that with the 10 of Wands being in reverse and 2 of Wands being in reverse. I feel like you guys maybe were, I don't know, like holding on to quite a bit of baggage or resistance. Did I say 2 of Wands in reverse? I meant 2 of Swords. Things might have felt like, you know, I don't know what to do in this situation. I feel overwhelmed. I'm kind of stressed. Being in this kind of like mental turmoil over the future. And there's something about this fifth house energy that's so peaceful in this exact moment, in this phase of your life, that I really feel that you're letting a lot of that go. And I think also it's coming from the fact with the 10 of Wands in reverse that you're not trying to put so much pressure on yourself to have everything figured out. But I do think enough will be figured out that you feel comfortable. I also think that the pressure, again, you're just going to kind of lay down that pressure and not try to have every single answer. But I think you will have some clarity, at least on how to enjoy where you're at, or how to feel safe where you're at right now. You will have clarity on that, and that alone is going to make you feel really good. The Eight of Wands in reverse to me is speaking about you guys potentially having a little bit more of like leisurely time, time to slow down, or do more of like what you want to do more things that inspire you, or that feel like fun or playful. This definitely feels like, you know, I don't have to like hustle and bustle all the time, all day, every day. So the Eight of Wands, like somebody who's really busy and probably has so much going on. When it's in reverse, it can allow you to kind of slow things down. And with the Hermit card, it can allow you to reflect, like, what do I want? Who am I? What do I enjoy? And Saturn and Neptune coming together in Aries in your second house could have you reflect a lot around your values and what you think about, you know, practical and material success, and how you want to make money, and how you want your future to look in terms of the things that you own, or your property, or your money, and how you want to manage all that. It is a time of reflection for everyone around wherever those planets are, which for you, it's in your second house of finances and possessions. So some of you guys could be doing some soul searching around, you know, do I want to make money this way, or do I want to change houses, or invest money differently, or save money for my kids? And so that Eight of Wands is going to slow you down enough to turn in to see, like, again, do kind of an evaluation on yourself to see like what's really important to you and where you want to put your energy, so that you can cultivate a life that you really desire. And then we end, which is super exciting, with the Fool card. The Fool card is a new beginning. So I feel like you guys, there is some limbo here. There is some transition phase that you're going to go through that I think Jupiter and Cancer will help support you to feel secure in. And then you're coming to that true new beginning, that true new chapter, that true new cycle with this Fool card. So there's something that you're going to do that's really fresh that you have never tried before. And the self-reflection and the transition, all this was really necessary to get you to this place, to have this fresh start. So something in your life is going to feel like you're diving headfirst into something brand new as a result of Jupiter in the fifth. So again, there could be some kind of new like creative venture or some new hobby, or maybe you decide to have kids, or maybe you decide to travel somewhere and you've never been traveling before, or been to that place before, and then you meet someone and it starts out this whole cycle. So I see it kind of being something that is like a snowball that rolls down a hill and collects a lot of energy and changes your life in a bigger way than your first initial decision. So this fresh start for you is going to be really, really big. And I think in many ways change the trajectory of your life in a positive sense because of that beautiful Jupiter trine to the ascendant. So I see this as being a positive and life enhancing time. I definitely think it's a lot about being like more at peace with where you're at in life, even if things don't always feel, even if there are like practical matters that kind of make you stressed, like, you know, Saturn the second can make you maybe more stressed about money and like practical things. That's valid. And I see that maybe happening, but you guys also with Jupiter in the fifth, coming to terms with how to move through that energy and how to, kind of accept or be comfortable with each cycle of where you're at and grow as well into your future self. So, even if there's some initial scarcity, I can see you guys kind of accepting and not resisting it so much. And from that place, being able to actually have a new chapter that feels a lot more exciting or abundant or fun or free than your previous one. So there's some kind of scarcity that could be scarcity of time, scarcity of options, scarcity of money. And I see it moving to freedom with that Fool card. And Jupiter in Cancer is going to help you with that process of acceptance, letting go, and then finding that new space. So I hope that makes sense. If it does, if it resonates, let me know in the comments down below. I really, really appreciate all of your comments all the time. And I appreciate any help to my channel, like subscribing or liking the video. That means a lot to me and really helps. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in my description box down below. You can also find all the timestamps for the other signs. I highly recommend watching for sun and rising at least. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye.